Jackie and I founded last year. And he moved to Richmond to help to do this. Remember what I was saying earlier, you don't do this kind of work at this level, this quality by yourself. And you know, when we were on the radio with Clovia the other week, we said that no African proverb, if you want to run fast, you run by yourself. If you want to run far, you run together. We're not a one-trick pony. We're going to run a long way. So with that, we're going to have Clovia kick off just a few minutes because we know your time is precious and other things to do. But Clovia, we are yours.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Can y'all hear me clearly? Yeah. So what did you think about love.com? Charneice, you are the writer and director of love.com.
Yes.
So you were sitting at home. Where were you? When did it pop in your mind to write this script? Great movie.
Thank you. I actually wrote it 10 years ago. That script is 10 years old. There's a lot with that. I actually lived in an apartment building in DC. They sold my building. My rent was $850. I lived by Brooklyn Station. It's now completely redeveloped. My apartment building is now like $2,500 for the same, you know what I mean? And I was displaced. Like, I lived in a city that I lived and created and worked for a very long time. And I had 2 kids. Wesley is my son, so shout out to Noah. He's now 18, but at the time he wasn't when I wrote this. And I was going to school and writing and just had this idea. And I wanted to see if I could write a comedy that was also about social justice and also about gentrification. I wanted to see if I could make something funny that also talked about like some of the things that were going on with within my community, which is really interesting because in DC, like the Black community is like elitist. So like Shelby's family has like this big house in Bowie, you know what I mean? But then Shelby still, even though she owns her owns a business, she still can't afford to live in DC. And so oftentimes you don't see those sides of the stories within our community. Like, you know, so I just wanted, I could have written a story that was gentrification and Wesley could have been like in the hood or whatever, but there are other sides of that story too, and I was super interested in like what that looked like.
And that was very good. Give it up. What I love most about this movie, and I'm pretty sure we all can attest to this, is talking about gentrification. And when Greg is talking about how we need to learn to buy our own and give back to our community, and even if it's a mixed-use community. So I just want to thank you for bringing those points out because it's relevant right now. Don't you agree? So, I want to talk to Monty. So Spike Lee called you up and asked you what about Black Klansmen? I had him on the show and we had an opportunity to talk about you can have great movies, whether it's Hollywood or your independent films, but, and as you mentioned too, BK, you didn't do it by yourself. So when you're on that national stage, you need to let everybody know about the coffee maker, the runner, everybody who was a part of what happened to make that film what it is. And that's what you do, talk about that, share it with us.
Yeah, is James? Yes, yeah. Right. The way the story goes, I met James a long time ago and he said, "Man, you need a reel." You know, because I was working for Spike like, 12, 13, 14 hours a day. And back then we were doing, movie after movie, we were doing music videos, commercials, etc. James called me and said, "Hey man, I got a good friend who went to high school with him, man. He was vice president of Verizon, and you gotta leave." I was teaching at ODU, and said, "Man, okay, look, just get in your car, come up here to Richmond, and we're going to the governor's." Because the governor was speaking, it was Black History Month, and so he said, "I want you to meet Jackie, and I want you to meet BK." And so all this stuff began to happen very quickly, right? And so when I met BK, he says, yeah, Monty, and he went through, I went through my whole background, did my pitch, et cetera, right? And then BK is like, I said to BK, he said, man, we're gonna get the money. And BK is a motivator. I mean, you could be in your sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. If BK was sending this text message, you'd be like,
Let's go.
so I said, BK,
2:25 a.m.
so you want to make movies? I said, yeah, man. I said, I've been making movies a long time. I've been making movies, man, since I was a kid coming out of college, man. And I said, I got some real questions to ask you. He said, okay, shoot. I said, man, okay, how far away is the money?
Good question.
And I said, wait a minute. And I did it. I said, okay, well, let me see. I don't know. I said, well, is it 4 dinners away? Is it 3 dinners away? Is it 2 dinners away? He said, you can stop right there. It's a dinner away. I said, oh, okay. So the folks that you know, you have that kind of direct access. He said, yeah. I said, all right, I'm on. And the reason I say that is because so often what happens is a script is written, a great script is written. You go out and you pitch, and nothing happens. And so with BK, when James said, we're ready to go, my man is, Monty, you don't know, he's been like this since high school. If he says he's gonna do it, it's done. And so BK and I have gotten to know each other, and I said, BK, I'm a bit of a loose wire. I said, because Spike allowed me to be that loose wire with him. I said, because that's what you need when you're out here, raising money, talking to investors, working with actors, anything can go wrong. And I said, but if you bring the right spirit to any production, I don't care if it's $10 and you have a great camera, but if you bring the right spirit to that particular production, I've seen over 34 years, people go from rags to riches because they have faith. I can get technical, I can do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, somebody says, what is it that you need? What you really need is for everybody to work together. My weakness may be his strength, but together we all become strong. So for her to sit here tonight, she is just bubbling because she's like, oh my God. This is really happening. And I'm like, old coach, let's go. It's your time. It's your time. And so I would just like to say from why am I here in Richmond? I'm here in Richmond for one particular reason. DK asked me to be here, Jackie asked me to be here, James asked me to be here. And for me, it's a long journey, but it's a journey that I enjoy. And whatever I can give and contribute to African American cinema today, in the future, I'm here. What is it? You can use me. Be beneficial. But the main point here is that this is a unity. It works. We don't know how it works sometimes. But you can believe you definitely will get a text from BK at 2, 3 in the morning to let you know, look, you need to get on your game. So I just want to say I'm really happy to be here. This is a labor of love. We can find a way to make it work, and I probably never will answer any question.
We did the same thing on the radio. We just gonna lower your mic a little bit. So we can pass it on. We want BK to address us. BK, first African American president of Verizon, Virginia. Give it up. Show us some love. And the one thing that we want to stress when it comes to BK, we spend a lot of time at African on Main. If you want to look for BK, he's at 2nd and Main, African on Main. And he was talking to us about the movies. He said, Chloe, this is going to be something that we've never seen. We are coming together. We are talking about the good things when it comes to us as African American. And all of our films and our stories don't have to be rags to riches story. we can be middle-class families and do great things in the community. So share with our audience about this great work and how you retired early from Verizon to tell our story.
Well, I appreciate that. And Monty and Charneice, I appreciate the sentiments. Very kind. I'm going to give a short answer because I don't want to hold people too long. We promised to get you out of here. I am a stickler for time. But bottom line is, often when women and minorities get to tell their stories, they're from a deprivation narrative. So it is an enslavement story, it is a boys in the hood story, it is a somebody beat me up story, it's a domestic violence story. Charneice taught me that every story has a right to be told. But the narrative as to our community is incomplete. And there are many stories that don't grow out of the deprivation narrative alone. And what about the achievement narrative? That's where you get Black Panther. That's where you get Hidden Figures. I lived in the community where Hidden Figures, where the people took place, where they lived, where they were educated. Langley was around the corner from my house. I never knew that story. And my dad was a mathematician, and I was an engineering major at Virginia Tech. Never knew. I might have been a bit more inspired. So we took it upon ourselves. I'm not good at complaining. At some point I say, all right, somebody's got to do something. And so where I was, you touch it, you own it. And so I decided to own it. So I said, first I started thinking about writing books. So who's going to read my silly books? But I look back in history, and our ancestors had always worked with radio or papers or media to tell a different narrative. So when the original Birth of a Nation came out in 1915, the Frederick Douglass Film Company was started in December of the same year. And the Lincoln Film Company, early 1960s. And it was to put a different narrative out there. So the vitriol of a society who didn't appreciate who we were and our genius and brilliance wouldn't be the only story that was told. What if I told you that in the late 1700s, the champion fencer in all of Europe was a man who looked like me? What if I told you that he was a virtuoso on the violin? What if I told you that our writer found evidence of Mozart borrowing from him? What if I told you that Marie Antoinette appointed him to be the head of the Symphony of France? What if I told you that he created a legion of 1,000 black swashbucklers in France? His lieutenant was T. Alexander Dumas, father of Alexander Dumas, writer of the Three Musketeers and the Count of Monte Cristo. So the cornerstones of French literature were written by a person whose daddy's mentor was the champion fencer and the chief composer in all of France. And very few, if any of us, know of Joseph Bellou Chevalier de Saint-Georges, but you don't know about him. I'm actually reaching out to Denzel Washington and Terrence Howard for the lead roles. So we are very serious about what we're doing. And we can't do this without your support. So how do we do this? Why do we do this? We do it because it's necessary, and we do it together.
The executive producer of Love.com. We also have Charneice Fox, the director and writer of a great film. Don't you agree? So we want to send people to the website?
Sure, so you can see what's happening with solidify.com. We'll be working with the museum to do other projects, bring some of our other films. And thank you for supporting us tonight. We really appreciate it.